Welcome, aspiring investors. In this comprehensive guide, we're setting out on a path to empower your financial future through the art of investing. Explore the fundamental principles and step-by-step strategies for beginners to kickstart their investment journey and witness their wealth grow steadily. Imagine you've saved up some money, not enough for a house, but you want to invest it wisely. You've heard about stocks, bonds, real estate, and all the investment options out there. Maybe you've seen YouTube ads about day trading and making money through investing, but it's confusing and you worry about losing your hard-earned money. In light of all this, here's the ultimate guide to investing for beginners, your go-to resource. But first, let's talk about why we invest. Investing is about making your money work for you. Imagine you have $1,000 you've worked hard to save. You could stash it away or keep it in a regular bank account. But here's the catch. Inflation can erode its value. That means what you can buy today for $1,000 might cost you $1,200 in a few years. So your money loses its purchasing power. Investing is the solution because it helps your money grow over time, keeping up with and even outpacing inflation. Now, let's understand how this magical growth happens. When you invest, you buy something with the potential to make more money. Take a house, for example. It can generate income through rent, and ideally, its value increases over time. If you didn't invest and left your money in a bank account, inflation would slowly eat away at your savings. Now, let's look at houses as an example. They're interesting because you get rental income, which is pretty straightforward. People pay rent and you make money. But for most other assets, there's no equivalent to rent. Instead, you buy these things and hope their value goes up so you can sell them for more later. There's an exception with some stocks and shares, but we'll cover that later. Now, there's a whole list of things you might have heard about but aren't quite familiar with, like stocks, shares, equities, hedge funds, index funds, government bonds, corporate bonds, and even people investing in watches and fine art. It can get complicated fast, so we'll keep it simple. For the rest of this video, we'll focus on investing in stocks and shares because it's something regular people like us can easily get into. You don't need a ton of money like with houses, you don't have to take big risks like in crypto, and you don't need special qualifications. Stocks and shares are the basics of investing. When people talk about investing, they often mean buying companies like Tesla, Netflix, or Amazon. So let's dive into that. When you invest in stocks and shares, you're essentially buying a piece of the company. For instance, if I wanted to invest in Apple, I'd like to think I could just visit apple.com/buy. But in reality, I need a middleman called a broker. After using the broker's platform, I own a part of Apple. There are two ways to make money from stocks and shares. First, you hope the stock's price, like Apple's, goes up over time, allowing you to sell it for a profit down the road. Second, some companies like BT in the UK pay out dividends to shareholders. This means you not only hope for the stock's value to rise, but also receive a share of the company's profits as regular income. And if you're super rich, owning 20% of a company like BT would mean getting a chunk of their profits whenever they pay dividends, maybe every 3 months. But for us, regular people, owning that much is a dream. Instead, we might get smaller amounts, like $10, $15, or even $5.47 from various companies paying dividends. If we invest in several dividend-paying companies, it's like getting free rental income, but it's actually a share of their profits coming into our account, which is pretty neat. Now, how do you pick which companies to invest in? Should you go big with Apple, Netflix, or Disney Plus? Or consider brands like Shell, British Petroleum, Ralph Lauren, or Unilever? Let's figure that out. At this point, let's consider Warren Buffett's perspective, which I agree with. If you're new to investing and not a full-time financial pro, avoid picking individual stocks. Most people lack the knowledge to choose and time stocks accurately. Instead, consider investing in an index fund, like one tracking the whole U.S. market. Realistically, we won't have special insights into companies like Apple or Disney. Professional analysts do that full-time, and they often make mistakes. So instead of stressing about stock picking, consider putting your money in an index fund. So what's an index? An index fund is like a basket holding stocks and shares. The index part means it follows a specific stock market index. In the U.S., a well-known index is the S&P 500, consisting of the top 500 U.S. companies. For example, Apple makes up 6.4% of the S&P 500, while companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google are also in the mix. Even lesser-known firms like Ralph Lauren and Hasbro are a part of it. The S&P 500 provides a single number to track the overall value of the U.S. stock market, mainly because the bulk of its worth lies in these 500 companies. Investing in an S&P 500 index fund allows you to own a piece of all of these companies, offering diversification and a simple way to invest in the U.S. market. So what does this mean for us regular retail investors? It means we can invest in an index fund like the S&P 500. Let's say I put $1,000 into the S&P 500 index fund. Here's the beauty. My money now spreads across 500 companies, following the S&P 500's proportions. Out of my $1,000, 6.4% is in Apple, making me an Apple shareholder with $64. Microsoft gets 5.4%, so I own $54 of Microsoft stock. Even the 498th company, Ralph Lauren, gets a piece with 0.015%, giving me $14 of Ralph Lauren stock. This is a smart move, as recommended by Warren Buffett. For most people, owning the S&P 500 or a major index fund is ideal. Buffett suggests that even if you had an extra $100,000 to invest, putting it in an index fund makes sense. You're not betting on one company outperforming all others. You're letting your money track the market over time. So instead of trying to research everything tirelessly, consider diversifying your money across the top 500 U.S. companies. You're a regular person, not a full-time researcher. Trust in the overall growth of U.S. companies over time without overthinking it. Now, what's the alternative? You could attempt to pick stocks yourself, ignoring the S&P 500, but the odds are against you. Most people don't consistently outperform the market. Studies, surveys, and even Warren Buffett's experiments show that very few funds beat the S&P 500. Even if they outperform in one year, they often fall short the next. Many aim to beat the market, but as Buffett and others suggest, you can't reliably do that. Instead, invest directly in the market through an index fund and keep it simple. Now, you might be wondering, how do I invest in a stock market index fund? It's not as simple as visiting S&P500.com/buy. You need an online platform as the middleman. The process varies by country, so search for stock and share investment platforms in your region. It's essential to understand that while it's highly unlikely for Vanguard to collapse overnight, your investment's value can indeed fluctuate. This worries many people as they fear losing their hard-earned money if the market takes a downturn. Let's consider a common scenario. You invest $1,000 in the S&P 500 just before the 2008 financial crisis, and the market plunges by around 60%. Your $1,000 becomes $400, and you panic. If you sell at that point, you lock in the loss. But if you hold on, history shows that markets tend to recover over time. By 2012, they had bounced back to pre-crisis levels and continued to rise. The key takeaway is that the stock market generally trends upward over the long term. Similar to real estate, if you sell a house right after buying it, prices may drop, but holding on to it for 20 years typically results in a higher value. The longer your money remains in index funds or similar investments, the more it can grow through the magic of compound interest. As Einstein famously said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. The chances of all 500 of the largest U.S. companies instantly losing all their value are essentially zero. It's a reasonable bet that the stock market tends to rise over time because these companies are continually creating value. Employees innovate, research, and improve products, like adding features to iPhones. As human labor contributes, a company's value should generally increase as it produces more appealing products that people want to buy. To wrap up our discussion on investing for beginners, we've covered the fundamentals of getting started in a simple and accessible way, including various investment options. Whether you're considering stocks, bonds, real estate, or index funds like the S&P 500, the principles remain consistent. Diversification and a long-term perspective are your allies in the world of investing. Don't let market fluctuations deter you, as history has shown that patience and time can lead to growth. So if you're new to investing, take a step forward with confidence and start building your financial future across different investment avenues. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to click the like and subscribe button.